It's California Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance, and we are joined today by Ben Allen. He is a member of a school board in Santa Monica, Malibu, also a nominee for the California State Senate for the seat currently held by Ted Lieu. Mr. Lieu, of course, is leaving as a result of his race for the U.S. Congress. Congratulations on your advance in the June primary. How'd you do it? Big crowded field.
Big crowded field. I think it was just about having really strong roots in the district and getting a good message out that appealed to a lot of different folks around the district.
And the district is massive.
It's enormous.
It's amazing to me in California, a state Senate seat is larger than a congressional seat.
Yep.
And your seat takes in huge portions of the West Side, huge portions of the South Bay.
That's right.
Kind of disparate communities in a way. I mean,
yeah, in some ways, but I think all over the district people care about public education,
Sure.
They care about jobs, they care about protecting our beautiful coast and improving our infrastructure. It's a district that it's disparate,
Right.
when you throw a million people
right.
into a pot, of course there's going to be diversity, but there's a lot of shared values and shared issues.
So let's talk about you for a second. You are on the Santa Monica Malibu School Board. Tell
That's
us
right.
about it. Tell us about your time there.
So I've been on the board now for 2 terms. I was born and raised in Santa Monica and went to public schools from K through 12.
Samo?
Went to Samo High. Go
I have
Vikings.
a nephew there right now. There
Go
you
Vikings,
have it.
Go Vikings. Son of 2 educators.
Oh.
My dad spent his career as a professor at UCLA. My mom was a public school teacher and very involved in the arts as well. So I'm a lawyer. I teach at UCLA Law School.
Sure.
And I've been serving on the board now for 2 terms. It's a really tough experience with all the economic challenges, but a very fulfilling experience as
So
well.
what made you decide to make the jump into a major race, the state Senate race that you're seeking?
Well, I've worked as a staffer on Capitol
Right.
Hill. When I was at law school, I served as the student member of the University of California's Board of Regents, and I was able to pass a couple pieces of legislation through the board that I'm really proud of. And of course, now serving on the school board for 2 terms, teaching education law and policy, I've been thinking about, writing about, teaching
Sure.
state regulatory issues, policy issues for a long time. So the state has been on my mind for quite some time as an area that needs great improvement.
Right.
But I'm from here. I care about this community. I grew up here. I'd love to give back. Ted Lieu vacated the seat. None of the sitting assembly members decided to jump in. There was this crazy scrum. I threw my hat in the ring. I got the early support of folks like Senator Fran Pavley and Supervisor Zev Yaroslavsky. They said, look, if you really want to do this, we're going to get behind you.
Fantastic.
And it's been a great experience ever since.
When I think about the district, there's no doubt that one of the major economic drivers in the region is the entertainment industry.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
we know the entertainment industry has really struggled as of late because other jurisdictions have been very aggressive in terms of creating tax incentive programs. We think about our friends in New York, their program, $420 million, whereas California's program, $100 million.
That's right.
Just no comparison. And then when you consider Canada, North Carolina, Louisiana, we were really suffering. As we speak, it looks like California will be passing a program to combat runaway production.
That's right.
What do you make of that?
I'm very supportive of those efforts, and I think I got to take my hat off to Assembly members Gatto and Bocanegra, who really championed this issue and won people over and fought for this all over the state. In the end of the day, TV and film production, a very important part of LA's heritage,
Right.
And California's heritage. And there's so many jobs. It's not just the actual production jobs themselves, but there's all the follow-on impact out in the broader community. And I'm really happy to see us finally taking this issue seriously, making sure we keep these jobs here, making sure we really remain at the center of this incredibly important industry.
One challenge, though, is that with so many jurisdictions trying to grab Hollywood production, the chief legislative analyst even said there could be a rush to the bottom, where all of a sudden so many programs are being created that at a certain level it doesn't really benefit the state.
But at some point, it stops. I mean, even just recently, North Carolina has now rolled back their incentive plan. There was a piece about this in the paper. So at the end of the day, all of these various states still do depend on revenue, and they're looking at their bottom lines. And if we're able to really come forward and compete, they may have to reconsider their decision.
Right.
there's a danger, but I wouldn't overstate it. I think that we're all working in a competitive environment, and all those states are also looking for ways to make sure they're bringing in the money they need to provide all the services they provide.
So presuming you're victorious, you would be one of 40 members,
40,
yeah, 80 in the Assembly, 40 in the Senate. Currently, 3 members of the state Senate are under a cloud for different areas, different allegations. At least one of them has a pretty serious allegation against them in terms of fundraising misdeeds.
Yep.
Look, you're running in a seat with 1 million people. It's hard to reach 1 million people. It's an expensive media market. So there's a lot of flurry around creating all these restrictions behind fundraising.
Right.
I get it, but I want to take the opposite position is, how are you expected to raise as much money as you need to if the whole host of restrictions that are being proposed in the state Senate are put into place? No contributions during legislative session? I mean, that's 9 months of the year. How are you supposed to raise the money you need to raise if you can't raise money for 9 months?
Well, first of all, you got to remember there's a lot of built-in advantages for incumbents. And it's, they believe me, the folks who want to give money to politicians will find ways to give money to politicians outside of legislative session. If 9 months are restricted, 3 months aren't. Sorry. Yes,
no, you said it right. Yeah.
In the end of the day, what I would like to see us roll back are the really transactional pay-to-play things happening. If you look at what happened with Leland Yee, he was taking money from lobbyists literally a day or two before voting on their bills on the floor.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous. I think we have to make things a little less transactional and open things up a little bit. I also believe in campaign finance reform. I'd like to see some public financing. I'm really concerned about the long-term implications of Citizens United for the vitality of our democracy. I'm concerned about the plethora of independent expenditures that have grown out. So I think there are ways that we can try to roll back the more corrosive impacts of special interest money in the system. But you're right. In the end of the day, these are enormous districts. We're all trying our best to get the word out, and we're all having to raise money under the rules that we have been given. Let's just figure out ways to tweak the rules such that it will make things a little bit cleaner.
Presuming you're victorious, do you know what your first bill would be? What would you drop? Or more generally, what will your priorities be?
Sure. I'd like to find more ways to bring our best and brightest into the teaching profession. Something that would maybe provide a free public higher education for the top 5% of graduates from our high schools. If they commit to 5 years teaching in public school, get a credential, do everything right. I'm very interested in jump-starting our public transportation infrastructure investments here in Southern California. I think that the lack of mobility and the infrastructural challenges we have with regards to transportation are really sucking out the lifeblood of our city. They're impacting quality of life, they're impacting our economic vitality.
Well, along those lines, those two issues are already explosive, one could argue. I'm sure you know about the Vergara decision, which was surrounding teacher tenure.
Sure.
I mean, any early comments? We don't know where that's going to go, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's being appealed now, I suppose, by the California Teachers Association. Certainly, if the decision is upheld by the higher courts, that will get thrown back to the legislature, and the legislature would have to come up with a set of solutions that would comply with the ruling.
Do you think it's time for the legislature, for the teachers union, for reform advocates to really look at this question even before a decision? Because this, look, it's a tricky one. We honor our teachers. Your mom was a teacher.
Sure.
But the optics of it are tough. Lifetime tenure after 2 years.
Sure.
That's a tricky one.
Sure. So that's something that we ought to look at tweaking. Maybe upping the years to tenure, maybe up it by a year.
Right.
One of the challenges I know that exists in our district is a lot of our principals are actually told if they have any doubt about a teacher, to let them go. And there's a lot of
early on,
really early on within the first. They really only have about a year and a half to evaluate them. And in the end of the day, I've seen actually a number of principals who come to me and said, look, I'd like to give this young teacher an extra year to prove themselves one way or another. And so I think it ends up being unfair to them. We got to find a way to come together, make sure that we're respecting teachers' due process rights and
You'll come back and talk more about it?
Absolutely.
His name is Ben Allen. He is a nominee for the California State Senate in a seat that takes in significant portions of western Los Angeles County. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's California Edition.